Everybody are going to go ahead and get started. If you'll just take a minute and put your name and contact information into the chat. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you join us today. We are recording today's session. It will be stored on our Canvas page as well as our YouTube channel. So you are always able to go back and review this, share it out, or go back and hear some of the things that were talked about in today's session. We're really excited about today's session for this lived experience. But again, ECHO is an interactive community. So if you have any questions or comments that you want to ask, you can go ahead and put those into chat. We'll make sure that they get answered and discussed, as well as we love doing case narratives. So if you have any case narrative or case discussion that you would like to bring to the ECHO team, please consider submitting that. It's a great way to just facilitate conversations with all the amazing people on the call. We do ask that you de-identify any situation. Keep that information private. If you have any questions, you can reach out to a hub member. They all have an asterisk in front of their name if you're unsure about that. A key component of an ECHO session is that we will have some professional development, a didactic speaker, and then a case presentation. Today we are going to do something very different. We're having a lived experience. So we will have a panel of presenters. They're going to do some introductions, and then Matt Wappett is going to be facilitating some conversations about their lived experience with healthy relationships. If you need to know how to rename your profile or raise your hand, there's some quick little rundowns of it. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and I'll help you rename and get your hand up. I don't know what just happened with my screen. You can always register for ECHO sessions, and if you would like other information, you can reach out to Project ECHO at usu.edu. We do email out credit for attendance, so throughout today's session, Leah will be dropping the survey link in, and so we just ask that you fill out that survey. It helps us gather information as well as who has joined the session and how we give out that credit or that certificate. Canvas is where we store everything. So if you would like access to our Canvas page, you can always reach out to Project ECHO at usu.edu and we'll get you set up on our Canvas page. And then if you want to take a minute and follow us on Facebook, I am going to stop sharing and turn the time over to Matt. He's going to help us introduce all of our panels. They are going to tell their name, where they live, their relationship status, as well as their disability status. So Matt, if you want to say anything, and then I can highlight you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to jump in, and thank you all for joining us today for this fun conversation. This is one of the things I know that Janelle and others like to do on these echoes, is to not just have professionals, but have the voice of lived experience involved in these discussions. And so today we're going to be talking about relationships. So we've invited 3 panelists to join us today, each one coming with a different perspective and a different experience. And some are in relationships, some are looking for relationships, but really we want to have a conversation about what does it mean, right, to have healthy relationships, especially when you grow up and live with a disability. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly do a round of introductions. Well, I'm going to have the presenters introduce themselves. And then we have a set of panel questions that we'll kind of work through. And then at the end, Adam, who is one of our panelists, has a short presentation that he's going to share with all of us. So on that note, like Janelle mentioned, I think I'll go kind of around and I'll go on the order you're on my screen, but if you could share your name, where you're at, kind of your relationship status. Are you in a relationship? Have you been in a relationship? Are you looking for a relationship? And then any information about your disability that you'd be comfortable sharing. So with that said, Adam, why don't we start with you?
Well, I'm glad that everybody's here for us to present. So, hello, everybody. My name is Adam Danos. I am from Salt Lake.
We
Oh,
lost.
Adam, you muted
You
yourself.
muted yourself, Adam.
Sorry about that. So, my name is Adam Danos. I currently live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I am single as I speak, and I am on autism spectrum disorders.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. Next, let's go to Everett.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Everett Bacon. I also live in Salt Lake City. Um, I am president of the National Federation of the Blind of Utah, and work on a lot of other different disability organizations, boards, and committees. And yeah, I've been married going on 30 years. And here live here in Salt Lake City with my wife, and we have three dogs. So there's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks, Everett. Everett brings the voice of experience today.
Thanks. Yeah, Matt's trying to tell me I'm old.
No. Well, the funny thing is, Everett, I'm having my 30th wedding anniversary this year too. So
Nice.
you and I are probably on the same track. Okay, Brenna, let's go to you.
Hi, I'm Brenna Nilsson. I live in Logan, Utah, and I have Asperger's, and that's a high functioning autism. And I work here at the IDRPP with Matt, and I've been here for almost 8 years, and I enjoy being here. And I am actually married, and we have a little dog that is cute. His name's Cooper, and he's a rat terrier chihuahua mix, so he causes trouble, but he's worth it.
Perfect. Thank you, Brenna. So I should note that we had a couple of other folks who were going to join us today, and I've spent all morning on the phone with them, and they had life occur and they're unable to be with us today. So panel's a little smaller than we anticipated, but we're grateful for each of you for being here. So I think what we're going to do is we have these questions that we came up with a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just going to walk through them and give each of the panelists an opportunity to respond and kind of share their experience. So I think the first one, since this is focused on healthy relationships, what are the most important things you look for in a friend or partner? Or what were the most important things you looked for in a friend or partner? So yeah, who wants to take that first?
I volunteer to go first.
Okay, go for it, Adam.
So, what I look for in a friend and a potential partner is have some empathy, kindness, someone who's willing to take my autism, and someone who can do typical things as normal people would do, and also accept hobbies that the other person has. Like, uh, I really like sports, and my potential partner might not. So that's it's a two-way street when it comes to having those relationships.
Audio now unmuted. I guess I can go next.
Yeah, go for it, Everett.
So, it's interesting. What I am blind. I come from hereditary blindness, so it goes back some 13 generations on my mom's side of the family. And so when you would come to a family gathering in my family, there was a healthy mix of blind people and sighted people. So, like for instance, at the growing up, My great grandmother was blind. My grandmother was blind. My aunt and my mom were blind. My cousin was blind. I was blind. And eventually my cousin had two daughters that were blind. Um, Many of it just so happened that most of the family members who were blind were female. That's nothing related to genetics. It was just a roll of the dice, and um, a female happened to be born with the blindness. It is a dominant gene, so if you have it, you can pass it on. If you didn't get it, like my brother did not get it, so he will not pass it on. And so when I would bring home a girl or a woman that I was dating to a family function, like let's say a Thanksgiving dinner or some kind of other, July 4th day or something that we were doing, I could always learn a lot just by the interactions, the the girl I was dating at the time would have with my family. Most of the time, it was a revert back into just kind of revert back into themselves. It kind of a bit of a shock to be around all of these blind people, all functioning different levels of abilities, and where they're at, and only my all of my family members that were married at the time, had sighted spouses. It's just, again, just the way it worked out. And they were all men. And so, I come from a very traditional Baptist family. So the tradition was the women did all the cooking and prepping and all that, and the men kind of helped out, but not fully. And and so that was kind of the upbringing that I had, and what I was at. And so I'd bring a date to a family event, and a lot of times they would get, very introspective and kind of shocked and deer in the headlights type of thing. And my wife was very different. When I brought my eventual wife home and we were dating, she she just saw a bunch of people the way they are. Doesn't matter that they happen to be blind or not. And that's when I knew I had the right one. And that's the kind of person I was looking for. I wanted someone who just saw me and saw my family as people that just happened to be blind. And I think that was the most important thing in looking for a partner that I wanted to find.
Thanks, Everett. That's an incredible story. I had no idea that that was your background. So that's really cool that it was a whole part of your family culture.
It really was. Yeah, it definitely was.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Brenna, what about you? When you were getting married, what was the most important thing you looked for in a friend or a partner?
Um, so so funny story actually. It took me a few tries. So I guess the seventh time was the lucky winner. So so um so what I was looking for in a husband who is kind and patient with my stubbornness and free spirit and sense of humor, and who's just sweet, and just we respect each other, and we motivate each other, and what else? Just someone to listen and make someone laugh, and and I met my husband on Facebook because COVID had made it very hard to find someone. And we got married in the Logan Temple, and we've been married for a little over 3 years, and we've been really good for each other. Like, we strengthen our marriage, doing fun dates here and there, and if we have issues, we work it out really fast because we're the kind of couple, like, we don't like to sit on um hard feelings, and so we just like to work things out, like, and um and that and it's just been successful because I come from a family where I had some my parents and grandparents and some cousins actually divorced, and I was like, I married later in life so I can find the right guy. That would not happen. So, and I'm glad I did, and he's the greatest guy. He makes me laugh, and our and I'm glad his dog, well, our dog now came with the package, so it's all worth it. It was just amazing. Just yeah, it's just like I was like, those are the qualities I was looking for, a guy who understands me, who's patient with me, with my Asperger's, and with my anxiety, who's patient, listens, and like I said, be able to handle my strong personality. So that's what I looked for in a guy. So and it's been a success. So
Perfect. Good. Thanks, Brenna. And thank you all for sharing your perspective on that. So every relationship is not without its hiccups or challenges, right? Every relationship has challenges, whether it's, a professional relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whatever the case may be. What are some of the challenges you've experienced in your relationships, whether it's a current one or a past experience that you've had? What are some of the challenges that you've had in your relationships?
I can go first if you want me to, Matt.
Go for it, Brenna.
Well, with my, is it any relationship? That's what you're asking, right? Like
Yeah, any relationship.
Okay, so, I grew up like, with my parents divorced and stuff, and then they remarried my high school year. But I think the one challenging relationship that when I got older, it improved, is with my mom. She and I didn't see eye to eye for years and stuff. But when I moved in with her, when I was doing my service mission in Salt Lake, it improved a lot, and it's gotten so much better, where we had our good times, but there's just, she just had certain challenges of her own. That's why it was kind of rocky. But with setting healthy boundaries and, treating each other with respect and being patient with each other, it actually worked. And so, with my sisters, I feel sorry, like I'm not getting involved, but they kind of have a strained relationship with my mom still, and I didn't want to do that to my mom, and I wanted to make her feel like she was important as well, like, because I want to treat my parents equally and step parents, and that's what I believe. People should be treated with respect. Otherwise, it doesn't matter who they are. We just need peace in this world to make a difference. So I think my mom, when she grew up in a hard house, she just needed to be loved a lot. So that's why as I got older, I made a promise to myself that I would treat her with respect and do stuff with her, and I wanted a close relationship with her, like I have with
Brenda,
my.
your voice is kind of muffled a little bit.
Oh, sorry. And I just wanted a close relationship, like with my mom, like I have with my dad. So, because it's important to treat both people equally, and so that's my dynamic. So that's what is important. All relationship needs a lot of care.
For sure. Totally agree. Adam, what about you? What are some of the challenges you've experienced in relationships?
Did you call me?
I did not yet. I'm going to you last, Everett, this time.
So, personally, I would rather be a boyfriend to a girl who has autism, and someone who's really nice, and someone who's willing to take my autism. The issues that I really face are boundaries, especially when it comes to the SCX word. So it's a big challenge, especially with my relationships I've had in the past, and with me going to that class Tetons, that actually taught me to to teach that, hey, I have this right to uh, express my feelings, and I have that right to show how I feel when I'm in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship. And I really consider myself as a smart person, because for myself personally, since I live by myself with my cat, of course. Um, I kind of see myself as a smart person because I'm considered more of a high functioning end on the autism person. So I have considered myself to be more of like and some people have tell me that I should date someone who's a regular person, but I think I should but personally I see myself being a boyfriend to a girl who's kind of like myself.
Oh, I think that totally makes sense, and that's one of the great opportunities that we have to make choices, right?
And I haven't really touched on about the experience with consent. Consent wasn't really talked about when I was in my last two relationships. And considerably for the most part, my two relationships were from another state. Those two relationships didn't happen where in Utah. I haven't had any luck finding a girl in Utah, so I just though I did have two that really liked me, but none of them didn't happen. But
Well, that's its own unique challenge, isn't it?
yeah, and that's what Tetons really taught me is consent and setting a boundary.
Yeah, no, that's super important, Adam. Thanks. Everett, let's go to you. What are some of the challenges you've experienced in your relationship?
So, I think the biggest challenge that my wife Angela and I have faced, it's been more her under her ability to experience what I've experienced and what I continue to experience as a blind individual, and her having to kind of watch that and understand when she should step in and be supportive and be a part of it, and when she should kind of, you know, I guess a step back and let me handle the situation. I think that's been kind of the biggest I guess a difficulty or thing about our marriage that we've had experiences. Angela and I, we are very good together, but when we get out into the public, I have a understanding of how people view blindness, what kind of misconceptions and stereotypes that exist out there. I have a good understanding of it because I've been dealing with it all of my life. And I had, like I said before, I come from a family of it, so I've always been around blindness, and I've always seen how blind people are treated, um, both good and bad. And so, but Angela, she didn't know any blind people until me, and my family. And so she's had to kind of adapt to that and learning how to deal with that where I didn't. So a lot of times, like if someone would stare at me with my cane, her when we first were dating and stuff, her tendency was to be somewhat accusatory to them and ask them, why are you staring? That kind of thing. And all of these things, I kind of had to work with her on knowing when it's appropriate to speak out, and say something, and when it's appropriate, when is it not appropriate, and when is it more of letting me handle it as a blind individual and who happens to be married and that kind of thing, and not her having to speak up or be my voice. And so I think that's been the biggest challenge. I think she's done very well at it, especially because we're still together after so many years. But I think that was the biggest challenge that we faced as a couple, in our, when we first started dating and moving forward.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, Everett.
Sure.
I think that's always the challenge, even if the partners in a relationship don't have a disability, to deal with, right? Still understanding those boundaries and sort of who, yeah, what's okay, what's not okay, and when should I involve you? When shouldn't I involve you? When should I speak for you? When shouldn't I speak for you? Right? All of those things sometimes take years to figure out and to find
Yep.
that sort of happy medium. So, um, so what kind of goals do you want to achieve in a healthy relationship? So if you're in a relationship, what are you looking for out of it? You know, what are your goals for a healthy relationship? Adam, why don't we start with you this time?
I was gonna let Ever go first, but
Oh, do you want to go? We can go with Everett first.
Okay. Uh, you know, I think the biggest goal was learning how to how each person thought and how we wanted our thoughts to be together but also independent. Angela, when we first started dating, she had specific career goals that she had wanted to meet. Like she wanted to be a medical doctor. So when we were dating, that was something that was very important to her. And I I kind of was still figuring out what I wanted to do. I was in college. I just graduated college, and but I didn't really have a set career goal yet. And she did. She very much did. And so I understood that I needed to um, kind of adapt to her, and I knew that I would kind of have to be the breadwinner for a while. She wasn't going to make an income for a while. Now eventually she would make a great income as a medical doctor, but it would take her a lot of time and training to get to that level. And if we were going to be together and be married, I was going to need to pay the bills for a while. And so I did it. We definitely had those goals in mind, and we had to talk about that and how we wanted to move forward towards that. And I think both of us um, really understood that there were some things that we could compromise on, and there were some things that we weren't willing to compromise on. And I think both of us understanding that in each other really helped us in our relationship and who we are today, from where we started, some 30 years ago.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Everett. Yeah. Anyway, I'm learning so much from you, Everett. Learning so much from all of you. But anyway, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate your willingness to do that. Adam, let's go to you. What kind of goals do you want to achieve in a healthy relationship?
whoa. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm getting some sort of translation coming through.
It's okay. Did you hear my question, Adam?
Yeah, I did. I did. So what goals I want to achieve in a healthy relationship is my hope is for my potential my future partner to understand my busy schedules and my boundaries towards that. Like for example, NFL, I'm really kind of into it, and my time involves around it every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. Um, and Saturdays when it's towards the end of the season. So I like to make sure that my time involves around that. But if there's like something I really don't care about, I can spend time with her to enjoy company with. But when it comes to like setting goals for a relationship, which you will learn about in my PowerPoint later on, um, co- cost and also trying to look for some deals and trying to work out a way to make things work. It's a big challenge when it comes to setting goals, and you'll learn about that when we present our PowerPoints.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. Brenna, what about you? What kind of goals do you want to achieve in your relationship?
So, so I think trust, honesty, and boundaries are the big factors in general. Like, when my husband and I were first dating, I kind of told him like, okay, like we need to tell each other's pet peeves, like what can we do to do our best to avoid to trigger those. Um, and also like honesty, like being open with each other and not, because with so I've heard some, relationships did not end well with because of not being honest and not open communication. And also another main goal is open communication with each other and like with a spouse and in general and also with your boss or like a coworker just in general. But what I'm saying with about my husband, like we just we're honest with each other. That's our always been our goal and open communication. Um, setting healthy boundaries and stuff. And also, like with my, and also I got something that might share with that my brother told my mom once, that actually is so true. Because I was going through struggles with certain people, like in my ward or, former friends that were not being nice to me, and you know, and also friendships getting restored. Um, my like that made a little total sense is the word boundaries. That was the key. And that's what helped me like to navigate through those dark times I was going through. Boundaries is supposed to keep people in your life, not to kick them out. And when my brother told my mom that, my mom told me that, I was like, that is amazing. Boundaries are healthy and everything. And that's why ever since I like set boundaries with my relationships became healthy and it's becoming so much better, like, and also you want to honor, and also from my perspective, like, there's sometimes I struggle, I have a hard time with boundaries sometimes, but at least I'm learning with my therapist that boundaries are important. And so sometimes it's important to let people know what your boundaries are, your expectations, so you're careful what not to trigger and do your best because you don't want to make that person angry in general. So those are the goals that I would say. So
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Adam, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I forgot to mention about the boundaries part for the goals, and I'm gonna have to agree with you on this one, Brenda, because I like to make sure my time involves around my busy schedules. But it doesn't mean that I'll have time with you.
um
Or
Yeah.
I didn't word this right. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean that
oh no,
I
you're
won't
fine.
have time with you.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you meant. Like with your significant other, I totally understand. I know what you meant. Like,
Yep.
I just want to say one thing I forgot, Matt. With my husband, another thing that's another goal that you want to put your spouse first, then you want to put your spouse first in general is because they're your family, and then, but if you like you're like a parent on either side or in the hospital, they're that priority, go make sure they're okay. But I think I always put my husband first before, you know, at home or in general because like he's on the with the health insurance that we are on, with the university because his health insurance, his previous job and the job he has now is not very good health insurance. So I make sure that he's provided for and make sure he has what he needs so we can work together, with finances, because I believe in a marriage, it's all about teamwork. It's not just one way street. It's about teamwork and equal.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Brenna. And thanks, Adam. And thanks, Everett, for sharing that. I mean, the one thing going back to what Everett brought up that I think is really important that's kind of come up in all of these responses is that, right, those roles shift and change over time. Everett at the beginning had to be the breadwinner, whereas later on his wife, right, was able to bring in an income. And Brenna, you're in the same boat, right? Where, you're now providing health insurance stuff for your husband, but that may change in the future, right? Depending on how things go. And so, these roles and responsibilities and boundaries and everything, they're constantly evolving and they do require, right, flexibility. and being willing to work right together to navigate those changes and ups and downs in life. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, a a relationship is definitely a lot of work. It's not something that, it just it's not just based on love and that's it. It's definitely a lot more than just love. Love has to be there, of course, but it's definitely a lot of work and a lot of it sometimes day to day. Sometimes you are going to have disagreements and figuring out all of those things and how you both evolve over time is definitely something that you have to want to do. And if you don't want to do that with your partner, and then it's probably never going to work. It's going to probably end at some point. And so that's the thing I think we have to remember is that it's always a work in progress. A relationship, a good, healthy relationship is. It's never finished. It's never, one and done, and that's it. It's always this constant work and constant change and involvement.
Yep, for sure. And those boundaries you put in place 2 years ago may no longer work
Yep.
today, right? I mean, it all changes. Well, and that kind of brings us to our next question. And you've all kind of discussed this a little bit, but in your relationships, how does your partner, or how would you like your partner to accommodate your needs? And then how do you accommodate theirs? And I'll give you a quick personal example. I'm trying to keep my personal life out of this, but going on the theme that Everett brought up of things are constantly changing. About 15 years ago, I had a significant head injury that changed my personality, changed who I was. It literally changed the person that my wife married. And she had to completely adapt, right, and accommodate those changes, which were no fault of my own or whoever or whatever, happened during that accident. It just was. And that's been something that has helped our relationship grow much, much deeper, is her willingness to be flexible and to absorb, just the way that our bodies break down and change over time. And it's made our relationship stronger, her ability to accommodate my needs and to recognize, that, yeah, the original Matt is still there, but he's just expressing himself a little bit differently now. But with that said, kind of on a personal note, but in your relationships, how does your partner accommodate your needs? And how do you accommodate theirs? And why don't we start with Brenna this time?
Um, like I said, he's patient with me, with my with my interesting mood swings, but I think what I do to accommodate his needs, like I said, with everything going on, just doing the best we can, chugging along and just being patient with him and listening to him, what he needs. And um, so, yeah, because I remember my husband got laid off from Thermo a few years ago and it was not the best, but we hung in there and we had a lot of support. And I just think I was just trying to be patient with him. I just encouraged him, to apply that can be good for him. And we just kept a positive attitude and things fell into place and it became a whole lot better for him. So, yeah. And now it's my turn to weather the storm. What's going on, right, Matt?
Yeah. So how does
So
he support you, Brenna?
he just he just is there for me. So he's just been patient and kind and he just encourages me and just is always there for me and listens. So that's what he does.
Good, good. Thanks, Brenna. Adam, let's go to you. In a
Well,
relationship, how does a partner accommodate your needs, or how do you accommodate theirs?
well, I don't know how to answer that question, but since I'm single, but I can try my best to answer that question. So, like what Brenda said, to be patient and uh, I need someone who's willing to take my autism because I do have mood swings every time, and I can get in a tizzy at times. So I just would like someone who's willing to accept this, whether that person is autistic or not.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's an important part of who you are, Adam. So, right, you want someone who's going to support that and be there for you. So, Everett, what about you?
So, I think there's some similarities to your experiences, Matt, and my wife and I's experience. When my wife met me, I had partial vision, but I was able to function for the most part as very similar to an individual who has sight. I had enough vision where I could still read print. I had enough vision where I could walk without a cane. I definitely had some instances where I couldn't see what my wife could see, but that was something that was different for her in our when we first started dating. Now, I was not I didn't hide anything from her or deny anything. I knew that I would eventually go completely blind, and she knew that as well. Just being around my family and knowing that's usually how the progression started. So when we met, I was 20 23 and she was 20. And we started dating. We got married 2 years later. And so she knew and all along that eventually I would be completely blind. And that kind of happened in my mid to late 30s. So she had to adapt that way with me and in that type of way and had to figure out how to support me in watching me go through that complete change in functional vision to no vision. um I also had to figure out how to support her with those changes because obviously she had certain expectations of me with some vision, usable vision, and then as time progressed, um, you know, different the expectations and everything changes because I have no vision, and I had to, I'm a very independent person. I travel all the time. I move about the way I want to, and I figured out how to do that as a blind person successfully. But there are times when, Angela still worries about me crossing streets and doing all the things that I'm doing. I have been hit by a car. I have you definitely had some things that have happened to me as a blind individual where that have been challenges. And, so she worries about me, but at the same time, she also understands that it has to just be worry from her end, and because I'm going to go do what I want to go do and what I feel like I have to do as a blind individual. But I also have to be mindful of that in her, and be empathetic to her in understanding, that she might be worried
From
about
Masters Leo
me
Vasquez to everyone.
and
Survey.
those types of things.
HTTPS.
So hope that
Yeah,
helps and gives you an idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thanks, Everett. Um, so I'm going to throw in one of our spare questions here because I think we have a little bit of time. And one of these, and this is a question that we all have experience with, so don't stress over it. But what do you wish that your parents or caregivers, a guardian, depending on how you grew up, right? What do you wish that they would have shared with you about a healthy relationship or about just relationships in general? And again, I'll just kind of share my experience. I grew up in a very conservative household, very traditional. My parents, my mom didn't work. The expectation was that my spouse wouldn't work. And they really only gave me one model for what a relationship looks like. And I wish that I would have had more exposure to many different ways that relationships could look and different gender roles. And, and we have moved into a household where we have that, where, I do the cooking and I do a lot of the cleaning, and my wife, works in business and I work in human services. We have right kind of reverse gender roles, but that was not the home that I grew up in. And I wish that, I would have had more exposure to that and had, and understood that, those roles can be flexible over time. But for the rest of you, what do you wish that your parent, caregiver, guardian, right, would have shared with you about relationships? And Everett, why don't we start with you? Then we'll go to Adam and then Brenna.
Okay. What's funny is just watching my parents and how they interacted, um, through childhood and watching them. I knew exactly how I wasn't going to be in my relationship. So my parents were not a happy couple. My mom definitely, had the same type of experiences with losing her vision the way I did. And it was not a healthy relationship between my mom and my dad. My dad did not adjust very well to her losing her vision. He overcompensated and had to, felt like he had to do everything for her, and she was very bitter about that, and it really frustrated her, and they definitely had a lot of arguments and they just weren't a healthy relationship at all. And so watching them growing up was everything I needed to know. I don't want to be like anything like that. And they eventually, separated. And, it's funny, they're much happier now that they've separated and gone their own way than they were together as a parents growing up. So I guess I would really wouldn't ask them for anything because I learned a lot from them in how not to have a relationship.
Thanks, Everett.
Sure.
Yes, there's two types of learning. There's positive and negative.
Yep.
They've resulted in the good end, I guess, though. Adam, what about you? What do you wish your parents or caregivers would have shared with you about relationships?
Um, I guess it goes back to when I was in school. My special ed teachers never did taught me about consent and how the other person might set boundaries. That was an issue from my personal experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So even in school, you didn't get any of that information.
Not really.
Yeah. What about at home? Did you get any of that information at home?
Yes, from mom and dad.
Okay, good.
They they would tell me that whenever you're with girls, don't touch unless they ask.
Good. Thanks, Adam. Brenna, what about you? What do you wish you would have learned from your parents or caregivers?
I think the biggest thing, I wish I was diagnosed sooner than 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would understand and make easier with friends. I was kind of alone most of the time, getting bullied and but as we got older, we matured and we became friends in the last 2 years of high school mainly. But I think it was just, I got info from, when I was in special ed and got and advice from psychologists and what I need to do with social cueing and stuff, and that helped too. And but I think it's just and also I just wish that my high school guidance counselor who didn't lie to my parents that my special ed credits wouldn't count from high school, and or I would have to wait another year to get it or take 2 other classes to make up for it or get a certificate of completion. I was like, there's no way in heck I'm gonna get a certificate of completion. So I took 9 classes my senior year, getting my driver's license on top of that for the second time to try. And It was not easy, but I made it through. So
You bring up a good point. The earlier that you kind of figure out who you are and what's going on, the easier it is to learn to, yeah, grow into that identity. So thanks, Brenna. So final question here before we move to Adam to share his presentation. What's the key, in your opinion, what is the key to a healthy relationship? We've brought up a lot here today. I think there's been some great observations, but you were going to kind of pinpoint one thing. What would that key to a healthy relationship be?
I would have to say honesty, because that goes a big long way. It's one of the big factors, and because like I said before, honesty is the key, and it turns the lock, opens the lock for open communication, and then it goes a long way, and then you get stuff of what you can work on and get feedback and what you can do better on, and not keep going and making the same old bad mistakes again.
Thanks, Brenna. Everett, what about you?
So I think the biggest key is finding a balance between and a really healthy balance between when you have to compromise and when you have to relate and be empathetic, and then when you need making sure your partner knows what you require. So finding that balance between what you can compromise with and what you can't compromise with. I think those are really the biggest things in the biggest key to a healthy relationship and how it works, and knowing that what you can compromise with today may not be what you can compromise with tomorrow, and vice versa. And so I think that's the biggest, healthiest, key.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. And those things that you can compromise on, those are your boundaries, right? But those boundaries
Hmm.
change. Like you said, they change over time,
Yep.
for sure.
In both partners,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Adam, what about you? What do you think the key is to a healthy relationship?
Well, I kind of wanted to say faith, trust, and pixie dust from Peter Pan, but all I could say is have the faith, because I've been told from my parents and I've been told from my other friends and family members that, oh, it's gonna happen, Adam. I just kind of have this in my mind and say like, it's gonna happen, and I just admire their inspiration, and I kind of like to say for and I didn't really quite get the question because for trust I guess to make sure that you have that good trustworthiness in you, and that person has trustworthiness in her, that future partner.
Yep.
So um,
Yep. So very much like Brenna said, right? Honesty, trust, that all becomes very important to any relationship, whether it's romantic or not.
right, and as far as like hobbies and compromises go, um, and like Everett said, there could be some compromises that you can make, but there's some compromises that you can't make.
Yeah, absolutely. And those define the boundaries, right, of your relationship. And it's really,
Exactly.
it'll work out if you can both accept them, and it's going to be a challenge if you can't. And that's
Right.
why, and again, going back to what Brenna said, that's why communication, right, and being able to communicate those things is so, so incredibly important. So, well, I want to thank each of you for taking time to be with us today. Now, Adam, as he mentioned earlier, has gone through the Tetons program, and Adam has a short PowerPoint presentation that he was going to share with us to share a little bit more of his experience in thinking about relationships here. So, Adam, are you ready to go?
I can get started, and unless somebody else wants to go first.
I think you're on.
All right, well, I'm on air, so
That's you. Do you need to share your screen?
yeah, I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay, perfect.
All right, hello, folks. My name is Adam, as I already mentioned earlier. Welcome to my presentation of relationship barriers. So, in this presentation, you're going to learn a lot from my experience, what have I experienced in the past, and what I really hope for in the future. So, you're going to learn a lot from me, and I really hope that you guys get to learn a lot from this. So, let's get started. And I'm going to set my timer. How do I set the timer? Matthew, you know how to set the timer?
I do not.
I'll set a timer on my phone.
Yeah,
I know you could do it through Zoom.
I'm not sure. I've never done it through Zoom, so I'm
I'm
not
just going to set it
helpful.
on my phone.
Okay, perfect.
All right, let's get started. So, who am I today? I am Adam. I am 29 years old. I'm 7 years since my last relationship. I'm from Mandeville, Louisiana. I live independently in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm a big enthusiast of movies, especially like Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and any genre really, except for horror movies. I really can't take horror. Sports including NFL football, like the Saints, for example. Who dat? NBA like the Utah Jazz, college football like LSU Tigers and Utah Utes. Go Tigers and go Utes. NHL hockey like Utah Hockey Club, go Utah and go Jazz. Technology like computers, televisions, audio systems, and travel like flying to domestic cities and road trips. So, this is a big question that a lot of people are asking. Are autistic people capable of having a serious relationship? Well, the answer is yes, as long as they both like each other and have consent involved. Like Ariel from The Little Mermaid said, she wants to be part of that world. Everyone who wants to be in a relationship would love to be part of your world. And like Snow White said in that song, Someday My Prince Will Come, everyone who has autism or any type of disability has hopes that someday that their loved one will come. What am I looking for in a relationship? And when I think of this as a sports coach. I think of like when a sports coach is looking for a position whenever a new season approaches, like when a draft comes or um, looking for trades. I think of this as a sports coach when I'm looking for a relationship. So I'm looking for someone who has kindness and empathy, someone who's born within 1995 through 2000, someone who respects my hobbies and interests, like my sports, for instance. Someone who can do typical things as normal people would do. Someone who doesn't smoke or vape, because I really can't handle the smell of cigarettes. Someone who likes cats and loves cats, especially my Simba, as you can see on the screen. Someone who I can talk to every day. Someone who I can enjoy lunch and dinner dates with. Someone who can watch a good movie or a show with. Someone who can respect my sexual boundaries. Someone who's independently able to take care of herself. And someone who's able to be financially responsible, someone who's able to take transit and know routes, and someone who's willing to take my autism or a regular person, like I mentioned earlier in the panel. So, barriers, that's a big topic that a lot of people are facing when it comes to having a relationship. So, communication really makes things difficult, especially when it's texting, phone calls, or talking in person. And boundaries, especially physical and emotions. And I have a big fear of being accepted, and a lot of people have those fears as well. And anxiety, makes communication difficult, and rides and plans, especially like cost, rides, making arrangements, and following up on upcoming plans. Like for example, going to the movies. I know Megaplex has $5 Tuesdays on Tuesdays and $5 real deals when they show old movies. Yeah, that's a big cost when it comes to this. Um, Making arrangements for rides is a big crucial, and following up on upcoming plans, that's a big barrier to this. And emotions like staying home, because I do that all the time when I'm frustrated. Um, and I already mentioned frustration, like watching videos and listening to music. A lot of people have those in common, but a lot of people have them on their own things. But they have a lot of things in their own time, like do their own, like not like videos, but I guess it goes with me, I guess. So how to move forward with this? So finding resources, especially Tetons and Echo, um, counseling, especially my therapist. Me and my therapist meet every week now. Classes and like Tetons, safe social meetups like we get together with friends. I really get together with friends. Usually it's usually boys and girls, and especially like with the group that I'm with, the Mott Squad. Um, Support from family and friends. Consistency creates confidence, like I already mentioned earlier. Going out with friends and learn from mistakes. Everyone makes them. And just like in that song from Miley Cyrus, everybody makes mistakes. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the song "Nobody's Perfect." Think of that as an example of this. And lastly, if you're hanging out with me, if you feel uncomfortable, just tell me, because I'm really easygoing when it comes to creating those boundaries. TV shows that inspire me: Atypical on Netflix, Love on the Spectrum, which you guessed it, Netflix, The Good Doctor on Disney Plus and Hulu, Big Bang Theory on Max, Everything's Gonna Be Okay, Disney Plus and Hulu, and As We See It on Prime Video. So these are the actors and actresses that have played in TV shows and movies. So Kayla Cromer, the main star from Everything's Gonna Be Okay, she's on the spectrum. Um, Career gets her and Tal Anderson from Atypical. And I'm pretty sure you know who those two are. You can say it out loud if you want. Abby and David from Love on the Spectrum. Tim Burton, director of The Nightmare Before Christmas. And Dan Aykroyd from Saturday Night Live. Disney characters' lives before in a relationship, and I have included few Pixar characters if that counts. So, Snow White, like I mentioned earlier, has dreams of hoping that her prince will come. Ariel wants to get out of her world to the human world. Beast has worries that he or her Belle and be scary. Aladdin being told that he has been been told of a street rat. I'm sorry. Aladdin being told that he's a street rat, but turns out to be a prince. And Buzz always thought he's a real space ranger, but faced the realities of being a toy. Now, I'm gonna share this from the character's perspective. I kind of see myself as the beast at times where I'm in situations where some girls may not like me because I would be scared to uh hurt them, and because in the movie Beauty and the Beast, Beast was scary to Belle, and towards the movie they really liked each other. And Snow White, for example, said that she has dreams that her prince will come. Well, I think of her song as "Someday Her Prince Will Come." I think of that and use that song to say my prince will come one day, or actually my girl will come one day. And I didn't have him pictured, but Hercules. Um, I use go to distance from Hercules to say I can do this. I can really express myself and know that I can do this. Um, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, always locked and stored. Um, the princess said, "By the way, great mask." I kind of felt like from Hunchback of Notre Dame, I see it as a really good example of that Quasimodo was not being judged by her, and so that's a good example of this. And Buzz, for example, he was when he first came alive in Toy Story, he always thought he was a real space ranger, but Woody has always been telling Buzz he. I'm sorry I used that line, but Buzz was kind of a little not facing the reality and the hard truth. And when he flown out of the stairs and all of a sudden he fell, that was when he faced the reality. And when he proved that relationship with Woody, he was telling that is showing him that, hey, he can do this. He can help a friend and he can help get back home to his original owner. And Finding Nemo has one fin. He went out to the world and broke the boundary of his father. So if Finding Nemo can do it, well, anyone else can in a relationship can achieve like what all the other characters did in those respective movies. Now, here's some resources and contact information so you can spare some time to take some pictures and put some notes on there. I have mentioned about my coalition. Neuro Inclusive Autism Community Coalition is the coalition that I run. So yeah, do take the time to share this, and I will include those and Janelle will include those in my PowerPoint. So I'm gonna spare 2 minutes of your time to.
Great. Adam, is that all you had, or do you have more?
One more announcement.
Okay.
One last slide. I have applied to get on Love on the Spectrum. So this is a really exciting news, and I decided to use that hashtag. So please share the word about me because I make a really good candidate to be on Love on the Spectrum. So do share along and hashtag this because the more exposure I get, the better chances I will be at to be on this show.
Good luck, Adam.
Well,
That's awesome.
that's it for me.
Well, wonderful. And good luck on that, Adam. Love on the Spectrum. That will be great. I don't know if any of our participants have any questions that they would like to ask any of our panel. So Everett or Brenna, just open it up for 1 or 2 minutes if nothing happens.
I just want to say thanks to all of you. I learned some really insightful things, and it was so great to hear your individual experiences. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And Karen, I see you have your hand up.
Hi, thank you very much for all sharing your private lives with us. And I just wondered, Adam, I had one question. What was the MOP squad? I think you said it was. Can you tell me what that is and what you do?
Correction. It is the Motley, Mott Squad, MOTSQAUD. I can provide a link, and Ali already mentioned that in the chat. Yeah, it's a group with autism, a group of autistic people getting around in safe social spaces and meeting up on a monthly or sometimes a 2-month basis. We're about to start our adult group soon, and thanks, Ali, for providing the link. Yeah, learn more about it because yeah, it's a really good safe social group.
That's awesome. Other questions or things that anybody has? Okay, well, Adam, Everett, Brenna, thank you again for sharing all your amazing insights with us, and everybody for joining today's call. Our next session next month will be on safety planning. Erin from the Peace House is coming to present with us, and hopefully everybody has a great rest of their day, and we'll see you soon.